Welcome to a deep dive into, well, documentaries. Not just the films themselves, but how they're built online.
Yeah, it's like, forget the red carpet premieres, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about hashtags and likes and shares, all that. Shaping a film's success way before anyone even sees it.
Right. It's like that old saying, it takes a village. But now it's a global digital family to get a documentary made and out into the world. And that's exactly what we're unpacking today with filmmaker and researcher FH Kohle's work. Whose documentary is it, anyway?
And you know what I find so fascinating about Kohle's perspective is how he shows that social media, it's not just another marketing tool for these filmmakers.
Right. It's not just like an afterthought.
It's completely changing how documentaries are made at every single stage.
Every stage.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break that down for a second. Imagine the traditional steps, right? You get the idea, you find the money to make it, you film it, you edit it, and then hopefully you get it out there for people to see.
Right, the old school way.
Now imagine social media shaking up each of those steps.
Exactly. Like take that first step, development. Traditionally, you'd be stuck pitching your idea to studios, crossing your fingers, hoping someone bites.
Hoping they get it, hoping they see your vision.
Yeah. But now, filmmakers can use social media to test those ideas directly. They can put it out there to their audience, see what kind of response they get.
It's like taking your documentary for a test drive before you even build the engine.
And then, even wilder, think about the funding stage. It used to be all about convincing a few gatekeepers with deep pockets.
Right, like hoping to impress the right people at the right time.
Now, filmmakers can bypass those traditional routes and go directly to their audience for support.
Which can be amazing, but also, I imagine, adds a whole other layer of pressure. You've got everyone watching every step of the way.
Right, and Kohle actually gives a really good example of this in his thesis, the film The Act of Killing. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, it's about Indonesian death squads, right?
Exactly. And think about the risks involved with filming something like that. They couldn't exactly have a big public social media presence during production.
Way too dangerous.
But here's the interesting part. Once the film was finished, they used social media strategically to amplify their message and generate international attention. They partnered with organizations like Dog Roof and IDFA.
Oh, I know IDFA, the International Documentary Film Festival, Amsterdam. They're huge in the documentary world.
Exactly. So social media became less about avoiding the spotlight and more about using it strategically at the right moment to get people talking.
I love that. It becomes less about just shouting into the void and hoping for the best, and more about, like you said, strategy.
Exactly. And the same goes for distribution. Think about it. We've gone from this old system where you'd be hoping to get picked up for a theatrical release to a world where filmmakers can connect directly with audiences online through streaming platforms, festivals, social media, all of it.
It's like documentaries are coming at you from all angles now.
And navigating all of that requires a whole new skill set. And that's where the producer of marketing and distribution, or PMD, comes in. They're kind of like the architects of online engagement.
So not just posting the trailer and calling it a day.
Oh, not even close.
Yeah.
PMDs are involved in everything, from crowdfunding campaigns to partnering with those social media influencers we talked about. They're the ones crafting transmedia narratives that go way beyond the film itself.
So they're creating this whole world around the documentary that pulls you in.
Exactly. And it's not just about getting people to watch. It's about impact, real-world change.
Yeah.
And that's where the impact producer, or IP, steps in.
Okay, so if the PMD builds the buzz, the IP makes sure it turns into action.
Right, like think about the documentary Bag It. It's
Yeah.
all about our maybe unhealthy relationship with plastic bags.
Okay, I've seen that one. It's eye-opening.
They use their website as the hub for their entire social media strategy. It wasn't just about watching the film, it was about giving people the tools to actually do something.
Instead of just feeling guilty about all the plastic, they gave you a way to actually change your habits.
Exactly. They had people blogging about their experiences going plastic-free. They had resources for teachers. They even had this whole thing encouraging schools to become Bag It schools, taking action locally.
I love that. It's like turning passive viewing into active participation.
And it all goes back to Kohle's idea of the real virtual world network.
Yeah.
He says the most successful documentaries now are the ones that bridge that online and offline world really effectively.
It's like they're saying, don't just watch the message, live it. Which actually Kohle did himself, right, with his own documentary.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He put his money where his mouth is, you could say. He produced Safe Haven, stories from a Dutch school.
Yeah.
It's all about, well, teachers working with refugee children.
And he used his own RVWN model, that real virtual world network, every step of the way. What I find really interesting about Safe Haven is how he put those teachers front and center.
Right, from the very beginning. He involved them in brainstorming and sharing those really personal stories, and even had them provide content for the film's website. Stuff that went beyond what you'd see just watching the documentary.
That's what I love about this. It turns a documentary into this gateway to a whole world of stories and perspectives, and it's not just about those feel-good stories either. This approach can be a huge driver for social change, right?
Totally. Going back to Bagot, for example, they didn't just want people to feel bad about their plastic use. They wanted them to ditch plastic altogether.
Be the change you want to see on screen, right?
Exactly. They connected viewers with organizations doing something about plastic pollution, offered super practical tips, even encouraged people to talk to their local governments to push for those plastic bag bans.
So it's not just presenting the problem, it's giving you a way to become a part of the solution. And that's where I feel like this impact producer, the IP, really comes into play, right?
Absolutely. They're the ones with a strategy, thinking about how to make those views and shares translate into real-world action. Connecting with activists, NGOs, everyday people, and social media becomes their tool to do that.
It's like this whole ecosystem has popped up around documentaries now, and social media is the thing connecting it all, like its nervous system or something. But this interconnected world, it really depends on data. What does Kohle say about that?
That's where things get really interesting and honestly a bit complicated. Social media gives us all this data, right? About audiences, about what they like, where they're from, how they're interacting with the content. That's gold for filmmakers.
Like having a direct line to the audience's thoughts.
The goal is dialogue, critical thinking, not just reinforcing what people already believe. And again, it comes back to that foundation of trust. If someone feels like they're being manipulated, game over.
And then, of course, there's the whole data security issue, which we see it everywhere these days. Companies gathering tons of data, then boom, it's hacked or misused. That's a real concern for filmmakers too, right?
100%. They're gathering info from their audience, sometimes very personal stuff, especially when it comes to social change movements and that sort of thing. They've got to protect that data, just like any other sensitive information. No excuses.
Wow, it's a lot more than just making a film now. It's like they need to be tech experts, security experts, all on top of everything else. It really highlights how important it is to support filmmakers who get this, who are committed to ethical practices, not just getting those quick wins online.
Absolutely. And it's not all on them either. As viewers, we need to step up, be more aware of how our own data is being used, and actually demand that transparency from the content we consume.
Be responsible digital citizens, right?
Exactly. And Kohle also talks about moving past those vanity metrics, the likes, shares, views.
Yeah.
They don't tell the whole story.
You can't measure a film's impact just by how many thumbs up it gets, right?
Right. It's about more than just going viral. He talks about aiming for a triple bottom line, considering a film's effect on people, planet, and yes, even profit.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break that down for me.
All right, so let's say you have a documentary about, let's say, climate change. The people part, that's about the viewers, their behavior. Did they make changes in their own lives after watching? Did they become more engaged citizens?
So you're looking for actual, tangible change.
Exactly. Then there's planet. That's the broader impact. Did the film spark policy changes, shift how the public understands the issue?
Those ripple effects, going beyond just the individual viewer.
Exactly. And lastly, profit. Now, with documentaries, this isn't always about money, but more like a return on investment in a broader sense. Did the film help contribute to a more just world, a more sustainable future?
So you're measuring success not just in dollars, but in positive change overall.
Exactly. It's a more holistic way to look at impact. And it's a question a lot of filmmakers are grappling with. How do you measure something as powerful and complex as social change, especially in our world that's so obsessed with those quick hits of online validation? It's tough, but it's a conversation worth having.
100%. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But I think the big takeaway here is that the world of documentary filmmaking, it's evolving right in front of our eyes.
And social media, love it or hate it, it's playing a huge role in that evolution.
For sure.
From how these films get made, to how they reach audiences, to how we measure their impact, it's all changing.
And it's up to all of us, filmmakers and viewers alike, to navigate this new landscape responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely. We have to be mindful of the potential downsides, the ethical dilemmas, but also embrace the incredible power social media has to connect us, to spark conversations, and to inspire meaningful change.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So next time you hit play on a documentary, take a moment to think about the journey it took to get to your screen, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be inspired to join the conversation, share your own story, or even become a part of the solution.
Now that's a call to action I can get behind.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those documentaries rolling.